The morning sun peeked through the massive biodome that covered New Haven Colony, casting rainbow-like patterns across the buildings below. Captain Marcus Thompson stood at his usual spot on the observation deck, sipping his morning coffee while watching children walk to school. After 15 years on this distant world, the sight still filled him with pride. "Another beautiful day on New Haven, isn't it, Captain?" The familiar voice belonged to Dr. Emma Wilson, who ran the colony's main school. She joined him at the railing, her gray hair neatly tied back, her eyes twinkling with the same excitement she had shown when they first landed on this world. "Sure is, Doc," Marcus replied, adjusting his uniform. At 45, he still maintained the sharp appearance expected of the colony's head of security. "Hard to believe we started with just 10,000 people. Now look at us." Below them, New Haven bustled with life. 300,000 colonists had made this place their home, building a city that blended seamlessly with the alien landscape. The biodomes, stretching nearly a mile high, protected them from the planet's harsh atmosphere while allowing them to create their own little piece of Earth. Marcus watched as a group of children chased each other through the community park, their laughter echoing up to the observation deck. 50,000 kids now," he said softly. "When I signed up for this job, I never thought I'd end up being responsible for so many little ones." Emma smiled, pulling out her tablet to check the day's schedule. "Speaking of which, we're having our field trip to the hydroponics farm today. Third graders are learning about how we grow food in space." She glanced at Marcus. "I trust security arrangements are in place." "Always are, Doc. Got my best people on it. Tom and Bill will be there with the kids the whole time." Marcus finished his coffee, his eyes scanning the perimeter defenses that ringed the colony. Automated turrets, shield generators, and early warning systems, all carefully hidden to maintain the peaceful appearance of their home. The colony had grown far beyond anyone's expectations. What started as humanity's first attempt to live among the stars had become a thriving civilization. The main dome housed residential areas, schools, and parks, while smaller connected domes contained research facilities, hydroponic farms, and industrial sectors. A soft chime from Marcus's communicator interrupted his thoughts. "Thompson here," he answered, maintaining his professional tone. "Sir, morning patrol reports all clear, though we did pick up some unusual readings from the long-range scanners last night. Probably just space debris, but thought you should know," reported Lieutenant Rogers, his second-in-command. "Keep monitoring it. Better safe than sorry." Marcus ended the call, noticing Emma's concerned look. "Standard procedure, Doc. We check everything out here." Emma nodded, understanding the weight of their responsibility. "The parents trust us with their children, Marcus. We can't take any chances." She looked out at the cityscape, where the morning rush was in full swing. "Sometimes I wonder what the first settlers would think if they could see us now." The original colonists had faced countless challenges, harsh storms, equipment failures, and the crushing loneliness of being the only humans for light years. But they had persevered, driven by the dream of creating a safe home for future generations. Now, New Haven boasted universities, research centers, and the largest telescope array outside of Earth. But more importantly, it had parks filled with playing children, schools bursting with eager students, and homes where families grew and thrived. Marcus checked his watch. "Time for the morning briefing. You'll let me know how the field trip goes." "Of course," Emma replied, gathering her things. "Though I'm sure it'll be just another normal day in humanity's greatest adventure." As they parted ways, neither of them could have known how wrong those words would prove to be. The unusual readings from the long-range scanners weren't space debris at all. Something was coming. Something that would test humanity's resolve and unleash a protective fury that the galaxy had never seen before. The morning sun continued to shine through the biodome, its light reflecting off the buildings below, while high above, in the darkness of space, the first signs of an approaching storm went unnoticed. The alert sirens woke Marcus at exactly 3:47 a.m. colony time. Red lights flashed across his room as his communicator buzzed urgently. "Captain, we have multiple unknown vessels approaching the colony." Lieutenant Rogers' voice crackled through the speaker. "They're huge, bigger than anything we've ever seen." Marcus was already pulling on his uniform. "Sound general quarters. I'll be at command in 5 minutes." His heart raced, but years of training kept his voice steady. The command center was chaos when he arrived. Dozens of screens showed massive ships entering orbit around New Haven. They were beautiful in a strange way. Their silver hulls seemed to flow like liquid metal, with no sharp edges or visible weapons. "Sir," one of the operators called out, "they're broadcasting a message. It's in perfect English." Marcus straightened his back. "Put it through." A calm, almost musical voice filled the room. "People of New Haven Colony, we are the Dirathi. We come in peace and friendship, seeking to learn about your remarkable species." Within hours, the Colony Council gathered for an emergency meeting. Emma sat next to Marcus, both watching as holographic images of the alien ships floated above the conference table. "They say they're scientists and explorers," Council Leader Adams explained. "They've been studying us from afar and are fascinated by how quickly humans have spread to the stars." The Dirathi representatives arrived later that day. They looked almost human, except for their silvery skin and slightly larger eyes. Their leader, who called himself First Scholar, spoke with genuine-seeming warmth and curiosity. "Your species is unique," First Scholar told the council. "But what interests us most are your children. No other spacefaring race we've encountered puts so much effort into protecting and nurturing their young." Emma leaned forward. "Education is very important to us. Would you like to visit our school? See how we teach our children?" Marcus didn't like how First Scholar's eyes lit up at the suggestion, but he kept quiet. After all, this was humanity's first peaceful contact with alien life. Over the next week, the Dirathi joined various colony activities. They watched children play in the parks, visited classrooms, and asked countless questions about human child-rearing practices. Many colonists found them charming, though some, like Marcus, felt uneasy about their intense interest in the children. "Something's not right," Marcus told Emma as they watched a group of Dirathi observe the third-grade field trip to the hydroponics farm. "They ask too many questions about the kids. And have you noticed? They never talk about their own children." Emma frowned. "Maybe their species is different. We can't expect them to be exactly like us." "Maybe," Marcus replied. "But I've doubled the security patrols anyway." That evening, First Scholar requested a private meeting with the council. His usual warm manner seemed even more intense than before. "We have a proposition," he announced. "We would like to invite some of your children to visit our ship, to learn about our culture, just as we have learned about yours." The council chamber erupted in murmurs. Council Leader Adams raised his hand for quiet. "That's a significant request. We would need time to consider it, and to consult with parents." First Scholar's smile didn't waver, but something cold crept into his voice. "Of course. Though I must admit, we had hoped you would be more cooperative." Marcus's hand moved to his sidearm as he noticed the subtle change in the alien's tone. But before he could say anything, the emergency alarms began blaring again. "Multiple energy signatures detected," a voice shouted over the colony-wide comm. "They're powering up weapons." First Scholar stood, his friendly mask falling away. "We tried to do this peacefully. Your children are too valuable for simple cultural exchange. They will help us advance our understanding, whether you agree or not." The lights went out across the colony as the first shots were fired, and humanity's worst nightmare began. Chaos erupted across New Haven as the Dirathi ships opened fire. Their weapons didn't destroy the buildings. Instead, they released pulses of energy that disabled all defense systems and main power supplies. The colony plunged into darkness, lit only by emergency lights and the eerie glow of alien ships above. Marcus sprinted through the corridors of the government building, shouting into his emergency communicator, "All units, protect the school complex. I repeat, all security forces to the school complex. But the Dirathi had planned well. Their smaller ships landed at strategic points around the colony, blocking major roads and intersections. Strange energy fields prevented anyone from approaching them. Emma ran beside Marcus, her face pale but determined. The emergency bunkers, she gasped between breaths. We installed them after the great storm last year. Some of the children might make it there. They rounded a corner to see the school building ahead. Groups of Dirathi soldiers, wearing flowing silver suits that seemed to bend light around them, were already entering the building. Their weapons weren't lethal. They fired beams that merely knocked humans unconscious. They don't want to kill anyone, Marcus realized with growing horror. They just want the children. Inside the school, teachers were desperately trying to hide their students. Miss Baker, a young first-grade teacher, had managed to get 12 children into a supply closet just before the aliens reached her classroom. Mr. Roberts, the gym teacher, was helping older students escape through the emergency tunnels. Emma rushed to the basement computer terminal, her fingers flying over the keyboard. The bunkers are scattered throughout the colony. If I can seal them from here. She worked frantically as Marcus stood guard. Above them, they could hear the sound of children crying and the strange, musical language of the Dirathi. Security cameras showed aliens methodically searching each room, gathering children into groups. They were gentle but firm, using some kind of device to keep the kids calm and quiet. Lieutenant Rogers, report. Marcus barked into his communicator. They've got us pinned down, sir. Rogers' voice crackled back. Their technology. It's like nothing we've seen. Our weapons barely scratch their armor. They've already taken about 50 kids from the north sector. Marcus slammed his fist against the wall. Keep fighting. Help is coming from Earth. He hoped he wasn't lying. Emma suddenly grabbed his arm. Marcus, the high school science lab. It has a quantum transmitter. If we can reach it, we might be able to send a message to Earth that the Dirathi can't block. But before they could move, the basement door burst open. First Scholar himself walked in, flanked by 4 guards. His silver skin seemed to glow in the emergency lights. Ah, the protective ones, he said, almost sadly. You must understand. This is necessary. Your children are perfect. Their adaptability, their creativity, their potential, they are exactly what we need for our research. Research. Emma's voice shook with anger. They're children, not lab specimens. First Scholar tilted his head. To advance, sacrifices must be made. Your young will help us unlock the secrets of evolution itself. They will serve a greater purpose. Marcus raised his weapon, knowing it was useless but unwilling to give up. Over my dead body. That won't be necessary, First Scholar replied. His guards raised their weapons, and Marcus felt his muscles freeze as some kind of paralysis field hit him. He could only watch helplessly as more Dirathi troops entered, leading groups of frightened children. 200 specimens acquired, one of the guards reported. Shall we begin transport? First Scholar nodded. Send the message to their authorities. Let them know any attempt to follow will result in unfortunate consequences for the young ones. As Marcus struggled against the paralysis, he saw tears streaming down Emma's face. But in her eyes, he also saw something else, a fierce determination that matched his own. The Dirathi might have won this battle, but they had just made the biggest mistake in their species' history. They had taken humanity's children, and humanity would make them pay. The emergency message from New Haven reached Earth within hours. In the United Nations Emergency Chamber in New York, representatives from every nation sat in stunned silence as they watched the footage of the Dirathi attack. The sight of children being taken away by alien captors sparked something primal in everyone present. Admiral James Stone stood at the podium, his weathered face grim. At 60 years old, he had seen humanity at its best and worst during the Unification Wars. But this was different. This was a threat to everything humanity held sacred. Ladies and gentlemen, he began, his deep voice filling the chamber. What I'm about to share has been Earth's best-kept secret for the past 20 years. The lights dimmed and holograms appeared, showing massive ships hidden in underground bases and orbital stations concealed behind moon bases. After the unification wars, Earth's nations didn't actually disarm. We built. We prepared. We knew that one day, humanity would face a threat from the stars. Admiral Stone's eyes swept the room. That day has come. Screens lit up showing classified military bases across Earth and Mars. Hidden shipyards revealed vessels far more advanced than anything the public knew existed. Experimental weapons, powered by dark matter and quantum technology, waited in secret bunkers. Project Guardian, Stone continued, has produced ships with AI combat systems that can match or exceed the Dorathi's technology. We have weapons they won't expect, tactics they can't predict, and most importantly, we have a reason to fight that goes beyond mere survival. In orbit above Earth, massive hangar doors hidden in asteroid bases began to open. Ships that had never seen combat emerged, their hulls gleaming with stealth coating that could bend light itself. The Dorathi think they can take our children and face no consequences. Stone's voice hardened. They think we're a young, weak species that will bow to their superior technology. They're about to learn how wrong they are. Meanwhile, in laboratories across the globe, scientists worked frantically to study the pieces of Dorathi technology left behind during the raid. Dr. Lisa Reed, head of Earth's Xenotech division, made a breakthrough within days. Their ships use a form of quantum communication we've actually been developing in secret, she explained to the Emergency Council. They're not as far ahead of us as they think. And now, thanks to the data Captain Thompson managed to transmit, we can track them. Admiral Stone stood at the window of his command ship, watching as the fleet assembled. Over 500 vessels, ranging from massive carriers to stealth corvettes, gathered in high orbit. Each one carried weapons and defenses that humanity had hoped never to use. Status report, he commanded. All ships report ready. Admiral, his XO responded. The AI combat systems are online and learning from the New Haven attack footage. The quantum tracking system has locked onto the Dorathi ship's trail. Stone nodded, then opened a channel to the entire fleet. Men and women of Earth's defense forces, you know why we're here. The Dorathi thought they could steal our children and disappear into the stars. They thought we were primitive, helpless, unprepared. He paused, looking at a photo on his console, his own grandchildren back on Earth. They were wrong. Humanity has teeth, and today, we bare them. Today, we show the galaxy what happens when someone harms our children. The fleet's engines began to glow as final launch preparations were made. On Earth below, billions watched on their screens as humanity revealed its true military might for the first time. All ships prepare for quantum jump, Stone commanded. Battle Plan Guardian is now in effect. The Dorathi will learn that humanity's love for its children is matched only by its fury when they are threatened. The massive fleet disappeared in flashes of light, leaving Earth behind. The hunt had begun, and the galaxy was about to witness the full extent of humanity's protective wrath. Earth's fleet dropped out of quantum jump near a red dwarf star system. Admiral Stone's command ship, the ESS Protector, led the way as stealth scouts moved ahead to search for signs of the Dorathi. Contact, reported Lieutenant Adams, her eyes fixed on the sensor screens. 3 separate facilities detected. They're spread across different planets in the system. Stone studied the holographic display showing 3 massive research stations. Each one floated above a different planet, connected to the surface by long elevator shafts. The Dorathi clearly thought no one could find them here. "Sir," called out the communications officer, "we're picking up transmissions between the stations. The AI translator is working on them now." Minutes later, the translated messages appeared on the main screen. Stone's face grew darker with each line he read. The Dorathi weren't just studying the children. They were running tests on them, trying to understand what made humans so adaptable and creative. "Launch the stealth drones," Stone ordered. "I want to know exactly what we're dealing with." The drones, smaller than cars and nearly invisible to sensors, slipped through space toward each facility. Their advanced cameras peered through the station walls, mapping every room and corridor. Back on the Protector, Captain Marcus Thompson and Dr. Emma Wilson watched the drone feeds with growing anger. They had insisted on joining the rescue fleet, refusing to stay behind on New Haven. "There," Emma pointed at one of the screens. "That's Amy from my third-grade class, and Michael from the science club." Her voice shook as she recognized more children. The drones revealed that the Durathi had separated the children into different groups. Some were solving complex puzzles while aliens observed them. Others were being tested for physical abilities or creative thinking. "They're treating them like lab rats," Marcus growled, his fists clenched. Admiral Stone called a meeting of all ship captains via hologram. "The Durathi have split our children between 3 stations," he explained. "They think this makes them safer. If we find one facility, they can evacuate the others." He smiled grimly. "What they don't know is that humanity has mastered something they haven't. AI-driven combat systems that can coordinate perfectly across multiple battles." The fleet split into 3 battle groups, each led by an AI tactical computer that could make decisions faster than any organic being. The ships moved into position silently, their stealth systems making them invisible to Durathi sensors. "Sir," Lieutenant Adams reported, "we found something else. The Durathi have been doing this to other species too. There are records of children from at least 5 other worlds in their databases." Stone's expression hardened. "Then we're not just saving our children. We're stopping this from happening to anyone else's." The rescue plan was simple but powerful. Each battle group would strike their target simultaneously. The Durathi wouldn't have time to warn each other or escape with any hostages. "All ships, prepare for combat," Stone announced across the fleet. "Remember your training. Remember why we're here. The Durathi think their technology makes them superior. Let's show them what humanity's children are really worth fighting for." Emma looked at the tactical display, then at Admiral Stone. "What if they try to use the children as shields?" "That's why we brought these," Stone replied, pressing a button. A hologram appeared showing special rescue pods attached to each assault ship. The same technology they used to disable New Haven's defenses. "We reversed it. We can shut down their power systems without harming the children." Marcus checked his combat suit one last time. He would be leading one of the rescue teams. "When do we attack?" Admiral Stone looked at the countdown timer on his display. "In exactly 10 minutes, humanity shows the galaxy that taking our children was the biggest mistake the Durathi ever made." The fleet waited in perfect silence, weapons ready as the final seconds ticked away. The hunt was over. Now came the rescue. The attack began without warning. At exactly the same moment, Earth's ships appeared around all 3 Durathi research stations, their stealth systems dropping to reveal hundreds of warships. "All stations, this is Admiral Stone of the Earth Defense Fleet." His voice boomed across all communication channels. "Power down your facilities and surrender our children, or face the consequences of your actions." The Durathi responded with panic. Their defense systems activated, creating shimmering energy shields around each station. Their own ships, caught off guard, scrambled to launch. "They're not surrendering," Stone announced grimly. "All ships, execute Operation Guardian. Protect the children at all costs." The battle began. Earth's ships moved with impossible precision, their AI combat systems coordinating every shot and maneuver. The Durathi's advanced technology met humanity's carefully planned revenge. At the first station, Marcus led his rescue team through the disabled security systems. The special pods had worked perfectly, shutting down the Durathi's power just like they had done to New Haven. "Team 1, moving to Sector B," he reported, leading his soldiers through dark corridors lit only by emergency lights. "We're picking up human life signs ahead." They found the first group of children in a large laboratory. The young ones were scared but unharmed, held in special observation rooms. The Derethi scientists raised their hands in surrender, clearly shocked by how easily their defenses had been breached. "It's okay, kids," Marcus called out as his team broke open the locks. "We're from Earth. We're taking you home." At the second station, the Derethi tried to fight back harder. They launched their own ships, expecting an easy victory over the primitive humans. Instead, they met Earth's newest weapons. "Quantum disruption fields engage," reported Captain Lee from the ESS Vengeance. Her ship fired strange, dark energy beams that made Derethi vessels simply stop working. Their advanced systems completely shut down. "How?" a captured Derethi commander asked in disbelief. "Your species was barely reaching your own moon when we first found you." Admiral Stone's voice was cold as ice. "You saw what you wanted to see. You never wondered why we put so much effort into protecting our children. It's because we've always known we'd need to be ready to protect them from things like you." The third station tried a different approach. They threatened to harm the children if Earth's ships didn't retreat. They didn't expect what happened next. Special Forces troops, using reversed Derethi technology, appeared right inside their control room. These soldiers wore powered armor that made them look like angels of death, their weapons designed specifically to counter Derethi defenses. "You mistake kindness for weakness," the team leader told the shocked Derethi. "Humanity isn't peaceful because we have to be. We're peaceful because we choose to be, and you just made us choose otherwise." Within 2 hours, all 3 stations were under human control. The children, all 200 of them, were safe. Medical teams checked each child, while combat ships continued to disable any Derethi vessels that tried to interfere. Emma moved through the rescue ships, helping to calm the children. She found little Amy, the girl she'd seen in the drone footage, and hugged her tight. "They kept asking us to solve puzzles," Amy told her, still shaking a little. "They said they needed to understand how we think, but they didn't understand anything about us at all." Admiral Stone watched from the Protector's bridge as rescue ships loaded the last of the children. The Derethi stations, now captured, would provide evidence of their crimes to the rest of the galaxy. "Sir," Lieutenant Adams reported with a slight smile, "we found their navigation data. We know where their homeworld is." Stone nodded. The rescue was complete, but humanity's mission wasn't over. It was time to make sure this never happened again. The Earth fleet arrived at the Derethi homeworld 3 days later. The planet was beautiful, with rings of silver spacecraft and floating cities among its purple clouds. But humanity hadn't come for sightseeing. "Attention Derethi High Council," Admiral Stone's message broadcast across their entire system. "You will answer for your crimes against humanity's children and the children of other species. Surrender now." The Derethi response was immediate. Hundreds of their ships moved to protect their homeworld, forming a defensive line that would have terrified any other enemy. But humanity had stopped being afraid. "They think they can fight their way out of this," Marcus said, standing on the bridge of the Protector beside Admiral Stone. "They still don't understand what they've done wrong." Emma, who had helped gather evidence from the research stations, stepped forward. "Then let's make them understand." She nodded to the communications officer, who began broadcasting images across every channel. The images showed children from 6 different species, all taken for Derethi experiments. The videos revealed their cruel tests, their complete disregard for the young one's fear and pain. And finally, it showed humanity's response, the rescue, the precise military strike that had freed not just Earth's children, but all of them. "We are sending this evidence to every spacefaring race in the galaxy," Stone announced. "The Derethi's crimes end today." The response from other alien species was swift. Ships from dozens of worlds appeared, answering humanity's call for justice. Species that had lost children to the Derethi years ago arrived, ready to support Earth's forces. The Derethi High Council, faced with the galaxy's united anger, finally understood their mistake. They had believed their technological advancement gave them the right to experiment on lesser species. Instead, it had united those species against them. "We surrender," the High Council announced. "We will accept punishment for our actions." But Admiral Stone wasn't finished. "Your surrender is just the beginning. Humanity demands changes." Within hours, representatives from all affected species gathered on the Protector. Together, they created the Galactic Children's Protection Act, a law that would be enforced by all spacefaring races. The Dirathi would be isolated, their research facilities dismantled, their ships limited to their own system until they proved they could be trusted again. Back on New Haven, the children finally returned home. Marcus watched as parents rushed to hug their kids, tears of joy flowing freely. The colony's buildings still showed damage from the Dirathi attack, but the people's spirits were stronger than ever. Emma organized a special welcome ceremony in the school, which had been repaired and made even safer. "We've all learned something important," she told the gathered families. "Humanity isn't just strong because of our weapons or technology. We're strong because we protect what matters most." Admiral Stone attended the ceremony, standing quietly at the back. He watched as children who had faced unimaginable fear now laughed and played again, their resilience showing why humanity had worked so hard to protect them. "The galaxy's a different place now," he told Marcus and Emma later. "Other species used to think we were too protective of our children, too focused on their safety. Now they understand. We've given them a new way of thinking about their own young ones." As the sun set over New Haven that evening, families gathered in the park under the biodome. Children played while their parents watched, grateful for their safe return. The colony's defense systems were stronger than ever, but now they were joined by ships from other species, all committed to protecting the innocent. Marcus looked up at the stars, thinking about how humanity's love for its children had changed the galaxy forever. "They thought they were studying humanity's greatest weakness," he said quietly. "Instead, they discovered our greatest strength." The end.